And finally tonight, we continue our regular look at the campaign as it plays out in social media and on the web. For that, we're joined again by two journalists from the new website, Daily Download. Lauren Ashburn is the site's editor-in-chief and is formerly with USA Today Live and Gannett Broadcasting. Howard Kurtz is Newsweek's Washington bureau chief and host of CNN's Reliable Sources. And welcome back.
Thank you.
I want to start with some news today, and unfortunately in the form of an obituary. The conservative media activist Andrew Breitbart was found dead, age 43. Natural causes. We're still waiting to learn more. But Howie, this was a major figure in the world that you guys look at, right? Social media and political activism.
Absolutely. Andrew Breitbart was a passionate warrior for conservative causes. That fervor came through every time I interviewed him. And he really was a creature of the internet, because being able to directly broadcast, in effect, to millions of people online enabled him to bypass the mainstream media. But Breitbart was also a guy who delighted in going too far. So, for example, he was the one who put up the undercover video in that sting against the community group Acorn, which turned out later to have been edited. And the famous, or infamous, I should say, deceptively edited video of the federal worker Shirley Sherrod made it look like she was giving a racist speech when she was actually making the opposite point. He wasn't big on apologizing when he pushed the envelope like that.
No, and he was known as a rebel, really, online, and he had a lot of detractors and a lot of supporters. He had 73,000 Twitter followers, the size of a small city, but a lot of them didn't like him. But they loved his passion, I think. Even Media Matters, which is a liberal watchdog group, came out today and said, we praise his passion and his commitment to his craft.
So an influential, if divisive, figure in this world.
Yeah, when Senator Ted Kennedy died, just hours after that, he was writing some pretty harsh things about him.
So, okay, so now let's move to the primaries, because today, this week, there were two, Michigan and Arizona. Mm-hmm. And one very interesting event of the week happened in Michigan. It was a Mitt Romney event at Ford Field. Howie, tell us about that.
This was billed as a major economic speech by Romney's campaign, and yet it became about one thing. That one thing was the setting and the horrible optics. And the reporters there, Washington Post journalist Philip Rucker is an example. He used his Twitter account to send out a picture of Ford Field, and of course, the event had been moved there, and he wrote, "I'm not sure there are enough seats at Ford Field," sarcastically, for Romney's econ speech. So the entire substance of what Romney had to say was overshadowed by the pictures of the fact that this was a stadium that was largely empty.
So an example where the campaign is trying for one thing, but it gets out of their control.
It failed. And I think this also shows how influential pictures have become in social media. One of the things that we've also noticed is the website Instagram, which is a very popular picture sharing site. It has 5 million users and more than 150 million pictures. I'll show you some of the examples. Here's President Obama, a picture taken and put up on Instagram. The campaign just decided to join Instagram several weeks ago so that they can get their pictures out without having to, as Howie said before, go through the mainstream media.
And who are they, when they say getting it out, who are they trying to reach with things like this?
Here's another one. I'll show you.
Well, you know, these are purported to be behind-the-scenes pictures, and they're trying to reach people who like not only looking at pictures on Instagram, but you can edit them yourself, you can share them, you can send them around. So basically playing to the online community, which is increasingly a large segment of potential voters.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also have examples from, again, Mitt Romney, right?
Right.
But these are not ones that he put out.
He didn't. Unfortunately, Jeff, I don't understand why they wouldn't put these out. Look at this one picture here. Doesn't Romney look just like the, happy grandfather? His hair is disheveled, and he's smiling, obviously, at some event.
Well, let me take a second to explain how come we're seeing this picture and some others that you're about to put up. And that is, while the Romney campaign might have put up these kinds of family man pictures, instead it was a site called BuzzFeed, which is a kind of an offbeat site that deals with a lot of pop culture stuff. Today, BuzzFeed has pictures of 30 cats lounging in shoes. And they put this up under the headline, 25 photos that make Mitt Romney look human. In other words, this is not the candidate we see on the stage looking rather stiff, every hair in place.
It's an issue for him.
Here's another one.
But instead of the Romney campaign doing it, it's left to BuzzFeed, and it's attracted a lot of attention and, yes, buzz.
Right. Well, it has. Look at this picture, though. I mean, what does this say to you? This just says regular guy playing a backyard game. with his family in a normal, middle-class neighborhood. And this one, how many times have we all been here with our family seated around the kitchen table? There he is in the middle, the patriarch of the family, and those yellow tumbler cups that everybody uses so kids don't spill things.
And Lauren, where these pictures came from was a blog. It was called the Mormon Mommy blog, maintained by a daughter-in-law of Mitt Romney. And so this is how it made its way onto BuzzFeed. Once this was publicized, the blog was shut down. Why the campaign
Well,
wouldn't...
it was shut down. I mean, so once the campaign sees these out, which you're saying make him look pretty good,
I
at
think
least
so. Yeah.
natural, their reaction was to, negative?
I guess they felt that this was private. But when you run for president, part of what you're doing is you're running your family as the potential family to live in the White House.
His handsome sons.
His 5 sons. And so it's hard for me to understand why it took an offbeat website to put out pictures that this campaign should pay money to have people look at, because it makes Mitt Romney look like a good guy.
It does. Well, it makes him, his big criticism is that he is very stiff, not a hair out of place, very calculated at the debate, not going too high, not going too low. And here, this softens him, but it doesn't seem like the Romney campaign really got that.
I mean, it's interesting because in running theme in what we've just looked at today and other things we've talked about is the campaigns trying to use these different technologies, but often not being able to control what comes out.
Definitely, and the same thing really is happening with video as well. I mean, pictures are something that we are all able to grasp onto, but then you don't know where they go once you put them up onto the World Wide Web, and you don't know how they're manipulated as well. So I think that could be one of the reasons that the campaign has been so reticent to use it.
But the sea change here is whether you're talking about a video announcement of a candidacy or an attack ad that's put on the web, or just these nice pictures of behind the scenes or playing with your grandchildren. You used to have to rely on television programs like this one to put those out. Now campaigns can do this themselves. Some of them are more adept than others, but they understand that images really create lasting impressions in a way that words simply can't match.
And others can put it out as well. Andrew Breitbart and many others, right?
It's true.
All right, Howard Kurtz, Lauren Ashburn, thanks again.
Thank you.